Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. In today's video, something slightly different. Obviously, I'm sure a fair few of you would have seen the rumours and whatnot that are circulating with regards to a possible reveal for the Switch 2. Now, we're not going to respond to those rumours directly, but we have wanted for a while to make a video about what we'd like to see in a successor to the Switch. And this seems a good time to do it, bearing in mind what's being said at the moment. We're not going to assume anything about a new console. This is our wish list.
Exactly right. Okay, so let's take a look then. Also, let us know in the comments what your wish list is and if you agree with some of these points. Let's have a little chin wag, Glenn.
Nice little chat. Yeah, exactly. So what would we like to see in a Switch 2? Well, let's find out.
So for those of you who have been under a rock the last couple of days, on Nate the Hate's recent podcast episode, he said quite confidently that he believes the Switch 2 will be announced on Thursday, so Thursday the 16th. And quite frankly, he's not known to just make stuff up. So I think that's why the internet's gone mad.
Yep, for sure. And me saying at the beginning that we don't want to respond to the rumours isn't in any way discrediting what's been said or the sources or the legitimacy of them. It's just that this was not what the video was intended to be. These rumours have just come up and forced our hand almost in terms of making this video. We just want to talk about what we want to see in the Switch 2 whenever it appears.
Okay, let's start then, because hardware is going to be a big deal. Let's look at the screen or what we hope to see on the screen. Now, interestingly, there's been a lot of people speaking about how they'd be upset if it was an LCD panel again.
Right.
They're wanting the OLED.
Okay. All right. Well, I can understand that then, yeah.
Yeah, it just looks better, you know. When we got the Switch OLED, you really saw how good that handheld play could look.
Yeah.
So I think they're thinking, well, Nintendo should skip LCD and go straight to OLED.
Straight to OLED, yeah.
They're not going to.
No.
It's planned obsolescence, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, if you've ever bought a Nintendo console before, certainly a handheld, you'll be familiar with this pattern by now. That's what they do. They release Mark 1, they wait a few years, everyone's ready for a new console. Nintendo don't do that. They release Mark 2 instead.
Yeah, and I think I'm not too opposed to that, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, as you say, it's a pattern that we used to. If it wasn't something that they did, then I'd be like, oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You would kind of expect any other company to go straight to OLED from that then on.
Yes.
But not
yeah.
Nintendo.
No. They do have a history of doing it this way, and why would they break that cycle? It's always worked for them. Fans are very loyal, and they will buy the next iteration, even if it's not a new console.
What I will say, though, is especially for things like games that run well on Switch 1, it will feel a bit unusual going back to LCD because the OLED looks cracking.
It does. Yeah, it does. I guess so. I suppose there'll be that moment of trying to kind of refer back to what you were used to before the OLED, but I just don't think there's any chance of it, not off the bat.
So while we're on that subject then, how do you feel about the potential of a much larger screen than the already quite large OLED?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like a larger screen just for ease and comfort and what have you, but obviously I would still like the footprint of the Switch itself, or the successor to the Switch itself, to be within the realms of what you'd expect for a handheld console, despite the fact obviously it's a hybrid, or again, we're assuming it will be a hybrid. Yeah, so I would like a larger screen, but that is a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Like, form factor is important. Even with the Switch OLED, I take the Joycons off and I put the whole console in like an inside pocket.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to be able to do that if the rumours are true of the size.
Yeah, and I think that's the line they need to walk and consider, because I mean, the OLED is lovely, isn't it? You know, if that was kind of the template for the Switch 2 in terms of footprint, I wouldn't be too disappointed, because it is still maneuverable enough to treat as a mobile device in terms of moving it about and taking it with you. But yeah, any larger than that, and I don't know, you maybe start to lose a little bit of the essence of what it was meant to be in the first place.
Yeah, during the recent CES, there were a lot of companies announcing their new handhelds, in air quotes.
Yeah.
And Lenovo, they put out this device, and it's huge.
Yeah.
It's like twice the size of a Steam Deck. It's like, hang on, for me, that loses it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends what you consider a handheld. I know it sounds silly, but if you mean that you can play it on your couch off the telly, then that's fine. If you mean taking it out and about with you in a rucksack or in your pocket, as you just said, then obviously that limits how big it can be. It's almost like the reverse of mobile phones over the years, isn't it?
It really is.
In the 80s, they were like suitcase size, and they've got progressively smaller. And handheld consoles seem to be getting larger again.
Yeah, phones did that bounce. They hit this super small size and then they started to get larger again, and handhelds are doing the same.
Yes, yeah.
There's this like wall. They were like, hang on, actually, why don't we go massive? And it's like, not sure about that. Not sure. But like I say, for me personally, the Switch OLED is my favorite console of all time. Like, I love the form factor. I love the idea of docking and undocking. Even the little quirky things like turning the Joy-Con sideways. I have used that with my kids, you know, to play something on the table there. So yeah, I can't see them getting it too far wrong, even if it's a bit bigger.
No, I think so. I mean, I take it for granted sometimes of what the core purpose of it can be.
Yeah.
But then I'll do something like, let's say we've got a review to do and I want to get out of the house for a while. I'll take it to the coffee shop and use the latch and put it on the table, the hinge, you know. And then it hits me and I'm like, this is actually really good, isn't it?
Quality.
You know what I mean? Like little moments like that. So I would like to see them keep that, even if it does increase in size to a degree.
Yeah, it's quite funny actually. When we started the channel and we would do stuff like that, people would be looking like, what is that?
Yeah. Now everyone does it.
Exactly. That's a good time to talk about the Joy-Con then. I think you and me both, and a lot of other people listening, have had a bit of a nightmare with Joy-Cons over the years.
Yeah, I'll be honest, this is the area I feel needs the most improvement on anything else we talk about. Everything else would be nice and would improve the lifespan and the desirability, I'm sure, of a successor. For me, this is functionality, like core functionality. My first Switch, the Joy-Cons were terrible, and I should have sent them back to Nintendo, but I didn't. I bought another pair from Toys R Us, and they were just as bad. And even my OLED struggles docked using the Joy-Cons at really quite small distances, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, the whole way that they do the RF and the Bluetooth signals is bad. Even last night playing Xenoblade, it kept cutting out and doing the whole Connect screen. I was like, no, man.
Yeah, it's really quite surprising, to be honest, how bad they are, you know, like, because I know there was a lot of noise about it at the time. It's not like it went unnoticed, but the Switch was still such a success, despite this glaring flaw. You know, when you're playing multiplayer and you've only got, say, one Pro controller in, it's almost like, right, who's going to get the Joy-Con? And everyone looks at the floor and it's like, oh, is it my turn? And you know you're not going to win the game, or you're not, you know, you're going to keep getting disconnected, and it's so disheartening.
Cuphead.
Yeah. Yeah, games like that. How many times have we done that? Been playing a multiplayer game and one of us has had to say, can you pause it for a minute? These are crap. And then you have to try and find another pair in a drawer somewhere, or you know, find another controller that's not charged, and because they just don't work properly.
No. So let's assume that they're going to work flawlessly.
Yeah.
Design-wise, larger is better for you and I.
Yes, a bit bigger, which I know kind of contradicts what we just said about size. But it's just, again, finding that sweet spot, isn't it, of how big the console can realistically be and still be a portable device. But they are a bit too small. If you're, you know, we're kind of 6 footish each, large hands. It's a bit uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah. He's not describing Donkey Kong.
Yeah, feels like that sometimes holding the Joy-Con, doesn't it?
It really does. So that'll be an improvement. I know we're not going to talk rumours, but you know there are images of the camera that's on it. I was saying to Glenn before we started this, it'll be such a Nintendo thing to do, to basically finally crack the whole mouse and keyboard problem on consoles by introducing a mouse mode on the Joy-Con. I think that'd be amazing, because I love strategy. I want Command and Conquer.
Yeah, no, it would be very Nintendo to solve the problem. Do you know what I mean? And find a way of making a mouse out of a controller. That would be great. But even if they don't manage that, just for the motion controls or the gyro controls to be more refined this time round anyway, would be great. You know, in some games they work very well. In other games you're constantly losing your spot and having to reconfigure and whatnot. Yeah, to really refine that this time round would be essential, I think.
That's a really good shout, actually. I think having more physical space within the Joy-Con might allow them to have a more accurate sensor, because the old Wii nunchucks were way better than the Switch motion controls.
Yes.
I felt like they were. I felt like they were more accurate. I mean, someone might correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was the Wii pointer, but obviously that used a sensor bar.
Right, okay.
Which allowed for the accuracy, but made it less portable. Well, obviously it wasn't portable at all. It was a home device, wasn't it? So the compromise they had to find with the Switch was making it so that it was within the controller itself,
right?
Which I'm assuming meant that it wasn't as accurate as the previous model, but was more portable.
Indeed. Yeah, I wonder if, like, again, like these are just speculations a little bit, but like we've seen the pictures of the mock-up of the dock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's no reason they couldn't kind of embed a sensor in the unit itself, is there?
I did wonder that, whether that was something they could consider, you know. So it's not essential. You could take it out and not have to use that sensor bar, and there's still something within the Joy-Con that allow for it.
Yeah.
But you can refine it when you're using it on the big screen. Almost override the Joy-Con and use something else, you know?
I do, yeah. And I forgot that it had a sensor bar.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the old Xbox Kinect. Was it Kinect?
The Kinect was Xbox, wasn't it? Yeah.
All these things that you like look back on and go, that was a weird idea.
Yeah, well, that was because Nintendo did it. It was massively popular. It appealed to casual players. So Microsoft and Sony with their one, I think theirs was called now.
Oh yeah, that little ball.
The ball on the end, like a magic wand. Yeah, they wanted a piece of the action, didn't they? And they probably went in a direction they didn't feel comfortable going.
Yeah, true.
Just to try and get some of that audience.
So then that takes us on to the UI and themes.
Yes. Yeah. So the UI of the Switch itself, first and foremost, and then we'll go on to the UI of the eShop, because they obviously kind of fit together. But just in terms of the basic UI on the Switch now, it's just quite cumbersome to navigate, isn't it? It's very tedious. If you've got a lot of games, having all of the thumbnails on there and trying to find the one you want. I know they did implement a folder system a couple of years back now. I suppose it would have been. It's not ideal, is it?
No, it's a funny one because I use the PlayStation and the Xbox as well. I think all three of them do rubbish UIs. You know, they're not good enough. Like, the navigating's awkward on all of them. The Switch, their intent is good. Let's make it all about games. Let's make it so the last game you played is the most recent one that you view. Like, that makes sense to me, you know, it's right away. But yeah, like you say, the folders, lame. Like, the way they're implemented isn't great. There's no customization of themes. It just feels so restrictive. And when it doesn't need to be, it can still be Nintendo, but have that other stuff. And old systems did it.
Old systems did it. The Wii U did a decent job of doing it. Their folder system was at least better.
Yeah.
And allows for you to really customize how you sorted your games. I think, to be honest, we're getting to the point where it almost needs a Netflix style UI, where you have a proper search, where it's not just search by latest played or search by developer name. It's actually typing what you want, or even have a way of talking into the Joy-Con, you know, and it finding it for you, having some sort of category or way of categorizing stuff properly, even on the, you know, recommended for you based on your previous games played, and showing you your own games, horror games, RPGs, blah blah blah, and just having it as a list like Netflix or Prime or whatever one you want to call out. I think it's moving, you know, technology is getting to a point where anything but that feels outdated now.
Absolutely, especially when we're all carrying around mobile phones, where generally you can swipe once or twice and get wherever you want.
Exactly right, yeah.
And with those quick search functions and stuff. So yeah, I'd say some form of quick search is a really good shout, because digging through those games is just a pain, isn't it?
It really is, you know, and I suppose it's exacerbated for us because we review games. Obviously, you have so many games on your console, and even the way of deleting them or all of that, it's very tedious. You almost forget what you've got if you delete them. So you do want a way of knowing they're still there, but without them cluttering up the system every time you turn it on.
Yeah, and there's like a kind of a bridge topic to the eShop. Would be the way it handles updates.
Yes.
I would love some form of visual, just something so that I know a game needs an update, or I know it does, you know, you click it and then it does the whole, like, do you want to download and all of that stuff. But even if you've got a game archived, knowing that it had received an update in some way. Again, Nintendo are amazing at visuals and sound. They should be able to do that with a little, you know.
A little pizzazz.
A little chime, a little jewel.
Yeah, juice it up a bit.
Juice it up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And sometimes I'm going to struggle to articulate what I mean, but I'm sure you've encountered this, where you're updating a game, but it's not necessarily on the front screen for whatever reason. You need to go into the whole wall of games, and you're literally searching through to find a game that's got a little white bar above it. Yeah. Because that's not the game you want to update. You need to cancel that or pause it to update the game you do want to update. It's just
forgot that was a thing.
Oh, mate, what's that about?
Yeah, there's loads of times with that. That's such a weird design. Like, everything that's updating should just be moved to the front. You're updating. Good job. Yeah, I forgot that existed actually. Man, that's bad.
It is. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any logical sense as to why that's the way it does it. And then moving on to the eShop, I guess, is the next logical waypoint to talk about. I don't even know how to describe it. It's become, it's just a pit of obscurity, isn't it now,
Yeah, I know everyone used to bang on about the seal of quality and all of that, but that's not even the main issue really with the eShop.
It's just all about navigation.
It's all the same things. It's the navigation, it's the UI, the look of it, It's not very functional, is it? And you can actually get a much better experience shopping just on their website. And you can actually get it to download straight to your console. There's a load of work they need to do there. I don't even know where to begin. Load speed, layout, everything.
Yeah.
New games section, not just new upcoming games, new releases, popular releases. I know you've got your top 10 or top 15 or whatever. It tends to be your big names, doesn't it? And then everything else that's little indies just gets swept under. Oh, there's so much they could do, though.
There's loads they could do. And again, I think this, across all consoles, is the area where they do try and go down the Netflix route the most.
Yeah.
But it's just still so cumbersome. It still doesn't work very well. On the eShop specifically, you do have tabs such as most popular, or you have the chart, don't you? You have coming soon. You can search by genre, but it doesn't work very well. Yeah, there's loads they could do.
I think one thing they really need to do, like to kind of save the feel of their shop, because right now it's like you've got it's like you've got your Harrods, right?
Yeah.
Your top dog toy store, but you've let a load of like flea markets set up in the front. Are you allowed to say flea markets? Is that a bad thing?
That's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Like people walk in and all they're seeing is this tut, a load of tut. They need some kind of community-driven, like you could flag a game as just low quality, something that wouldn't even be seen, but it would just drop its overall ranking.
Yeah.
Because right now we've got a million 20p games that are just like AI flips and asset flips. Yeah. I don't think it's a good look.
I think, I agree with you. I think it's a potentially dangerous line to follow, because it could become about money. It could be, if you pay Nintendo enough, yours floats to the top. As long as it floats to the top based on quality, fair enough. And an easy way to do that is a rating system.
Yeah.
Which should be there anyway. Why is it not there,
Exactly. I'll tell you what would even be better. Percentage played.
Yeah.
By average person.
Yeah.
It just calculates that underneath, easily done, ranks the games based on that.
Yeah.
A section from most played games.
Yeah, that's a good shout. They could do a proper indie spotlight with developer interviews.
Yeah.
If you once you click into the game itself, at the minute your only options are, to buy it or to read the blurb. There could be a little bit in there, and just give some of these devs a bit of a bit of time to show what their game is before it gets buried from the next releases,
Absolutely. Yeah, and they don't then just have to release these deluxe editions,
just to get back on
plus one edition,
exactly,
yeah, and when you're downloading all of those games, I think storage is an important one that they upgrade.
I 100% agree. And it's not even necessarily in terms of space for your games. So once you've got an SD card in, depending on the size, obviously generally that solves the problem. But there's, again, this very weird quirk where sometimes it wants to use the internal hard drive, and you can't seem to get around it. Again, I'll give an example. A good example is the Switch Online N64 games.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're bigger than the NES and the Super Nintendo games. When there's an update for that, like a new game's been released, it wants to put it on the internal hard drive.
Okay.
There's no option to switch to the external, to your SD card. So then you have to go through and try to delete stuff off of there. But obviously most of that is beyond your control.
Yeah.
It's stuff that has to be on there. It's just bizarre. It makes no sense.
Yeah, these little weird quirks that we've kind of learned to adapt to.
Yeah.
But if they could fix those, I think it would make a big difference to the overall feel of the device.
What do you think about storage just on the whole, though? Aside from those strange quirks, what sort of storage size would you be looking for in a successor?
I would say 256 gigabytes, but I think they'll do 128.
Right.
I think they might even do the whole, like, multiple models storage size.
Oh, you reckon?
Well, if they want to make money, they will. You know, Apple's shown how much you can charge for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if Nintendo have ever gone down that route. You know,
No.
there's a few things you can almost put your house on them doing.
Yeah.
And like PlayStation have done that, haven't they, with the 500 gigabytes, the 1 terabyte editions? But I don't think Nintendo have ever really done that. They've almost left it up to you in terms of having an SD card slot instead.
Absolutely, yeah. And I agree. I don't think they will do that. We're in a world now that seems to be much more focused on money and on investors, and we hear even more about, you know, Nintendo's investors not being happy about certain things. I hope they don't go that route, but they could. But I would say 128 gigabyte. If it's 256, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on to online now, online functionality.
Yeah, I put a little dash achievements on here.
Yeah, and we'll get to that for sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of just the online first, and how functional it is, how adequate it is in terms of what it needs to be, the current model of being paid online, what's your thoughts on all that?
I think that Xbox did the best online ever with the Xbox 360 back in the day.
Yeah.
Like the way that it worked, the way you could join friends and stuff like that, for me worked perfectly. Maybe I was in the minority, I don't know. I just think it worked so well, the way you could create parties and stuff. Switch and Nintendo historically don't like that. They worry about people experiencing online issues, shall we say.
Yeah.
And I get that, you know, we've got kids, there's enough Switches going around that it is a thing, but I think the world is so online based now that you're almost missing a trick by not accommodating it to some degree. And I think, like we've said about all the other areas, I think there's things you can do to at least mitigate some of that.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, they've got like a parental system on there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Where you can obviously monitor what's allowed to be done, and there's even like passwords and stuff that you can put on a Switch console. So it's almost like Nintendo need to trust themselves now that they've done enough to not cover themselves, I don't mean that, but, you know, in good conscience feel that that's okay.
Yeah.
And then have full online.
I agree, yeah.
You know?
I agree. I mean, not seeing things like Call of Duty in the whole of the Switch's life cycle is unusual.
Yes, it is, yeah.
We've had Call of Duties on previous Nintendo consoles.
Oh yeah, it's nothing to do with the content or the maturity, if you want, of it. It was on the Wii U. The Wii U tanked and still got 2 Call of Duty games.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did it have Black Ops?
It had, quite possibly. I know there were 2 because I own them. I just can't remember which ones they are. But yeah, so it's nothing to do with that. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't.
No, if maybe the architecture for the online for the Switch has just been crap under the hood.
Yeah, and they've just steer clear of it, you know?
Yeah. Which is probably a good time to talk about those achievements. And it's something I've said over the years, and I know lots of people, like myself, love them. I really like them because, I mean, you know my character type. I go all over the place, you know. I'll have like 74 different games on at the same time. But when I've got achievements, something about it keeps me going back to a title. Whereas otherwise I kind of move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It gives me a goal. And I like that. And I wouldn't mind Nintendo doing something like that. What do you think that would even look like for Nintendo, though?
The thing is, I can't see what it would look like because in my head I've got achievements, Xbox achievements, I've got trophies, obviously PlayStation.
Yeah.
Nintendo are very reluctant, for want of a better word, to do something that's established elsewhere.
Yeah.
They like to be the innovators. And because it's so well implemented on those consoles, I don't see what they could do that looked any different.
I've got an idea.
Go on.
It's just come to me.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Right.
So what they do is they re-establish their Miitopia style, like their online Me system.
Yeah.
You get your own like apartment or house, and you fill it with actual trophies.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
How cool would that be?
Yeah, I could see that.
And people could come along and see your house.
Yeah, if they were ever to do it, it would have to be in a quirky way. Because I just don't think they could stomach looking like they've copied someone else. I just don't think it's in their makeup.
I agree.
You know what I mean? In terms of achievements, so it is an interesting point because I do like them. Don't get me wrong. If I'm playing on the PlayStation, I'm pausing it, I'm looking at the achievements, I'm thinking what I can get. But it's almost like a catch-22 because then it starts to interrupt pure gaming for me, just me personally, because I start to do things I wouldn't normally do. I start to try and achieve something that annoys me but can't give up. And then what was a nice, enjoyable game starts to give me the ump. For example, there are other reasons as well. Or playing it multiple times to the point you're sick and tired of it because it needs 5 playthroughs.
Yeah.
Where I could be playing something I actually want to play this time round. And it changes my mindset. So it's very personal to me. I don't think it makes games more fun.
That's fair enough.
But I do like them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a sense of achievement, isn't there? 2 achievements.
2 achievements, yeah.
But I remember doing Dead Space, and you had to complete the whole game with just the first weapon.
Right,
That was a pain.
Yes. And there's that point, fair play. And there's that point where you're like, do I want this achievement this much?
Yeah.
Because this is ridiculous. But most people's character type is, I've got this far, I'm going to keep trying. It kind of changes the game. There are games I think back and think, I might like that more if I just left the achievements alone.
Yeah.
Or just played it on a Nintendo console where there weren't achievements.
I'm quite happy for games to kind of bake their own semi-systems within...
In-game achievements.
In-game, like Xenoblade, every time you get to a new area, that's like an achievement, to find them all.
Yeah.
I like that, ones that boost your experience of the world, I can kind of handle.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. And again, I think to stay relevant almost is something that needs to be considered by them.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I agree.
So as far as backwards compatibility then, what do we want to see there?
Well, what's been confirmed so far is it eShop games?
Software.
All software?
Well, this is what people were having a problem with. They were like, does that mean all software?
Yeah.
I cannot see Nintendo saying software and it not being games.
No, I agree. I think I can't remember
Physical
exactly what they
games,
said.
sorry.
Yes, exactly right. So I think they mentioned digital games specifically, but didn't actually mention physical games. It would make no sense.
No.
Unless, of course, the Switch 2 or whatever you want to call it doesn't have a cartridge slot that's compatible with this Switch, and that's why they've left it vague. But then why mention it at all? You're just going to get backlash, aren't you?
I think they would get absolutely roasted.
Yeah.
Because they should have said nothing if that was the case.
Exactly right.
You'd have class actions and stuff. Silly people suing them over it. It's not worth it.
No.
I can't see it. I'd put my house on it.
Yeah, and again, going by their history of the Game Boy Advance, the DS, the 3DS, etc., they've always had the previous iterations cartridge slot on the new model.
Yeah.
At least in the first version. In revisions they may have removed it, but they've had the new slot, whatever it may be, and then an older one as well. So it bodes well.
It bodes well, and there's no reason they can't have a hybrid slot.
No.
We've got multiple card readers that can do different things.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. One thing I will say on that, the subject of storage, again linked to physical games or games in general, I expect that they will increase cartridge sizes.
Yeah, this has been an issue, hasn't it? So now you're buying a game, not quite sure how much of the game you're actually getting, and having to download the rest. Sometimes explicitly stated, other times it's a nice surprise once you've bought it. Do you know what I mean? And that is an issue moving further on. It's not just the inconvenience at the time, it's the fact that once all servers go down, how much of a game have you got left? What's actually playable these days?
Yeah, and you would hope that Nintendo, they've always been about physical games. You'd hope that they would have taken that, because it's become more of an issue as the console's gone on. And when we move into these more advanced 3D engines and games, you've got games that take up 120 gigs on other platforms.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like that on Switch, but it still could be 60.
I think it's not a simple solution necessarily, but Nintendo are obviously very good at compressing their own games. Why don't they just share that knowledge?
Yeah.
I mean, you want the best on your platform. It can only benefit you, ultimately. Show third-party developers how to compress their games properly.
Yeah.
For their console,
I wonder how that's going to work.
Yeah.
And what it will look like. But you can only hope. More space on the console anyway, bigger cartridges, hopefully less of an issue, but it remains to be seen.
Lovely. So there are some talking points for what we'd like to see, or what we really want on the next Switch or Nintendo's next console. Please do let us know down below what you think and what your kind of wish list is in terms of requirements for it to meet your expectations. Put it all in the comment section below.
Yeah, big thanks to all of you that enjoyed the content. We have tried to skirt the line here and not just do a whole "the Switch is coming out tomorrow" video. We're just talking about our hopes and dreams, and do let us know yours down in the comments.
Absolutely. A thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.